The saddest thing is that we don't own the continent as Africans. We live in it, but we work for international industry. And we are actually a mega warehouse for cheap labor, basically. We don't own the continent. And until time comes where we might have an organization that says, let's scrap these borders and let's just work this place together and maybe negotiate to get it back.
It's easier said than done, though. I mean,
well, I don't think we'll ever get it back because the governments that we have, the majority of them are actually surrogates of the international industrial cartel or whatever it is, complex. And I don't think it's in the interest of industry for Africans even to realize that the continent is theirs to start with. I don't think it's their interest to for Africans to get together, to admit that they're the same people, that Jamaicans and Trinidadians and Brazilians and we're all over the world. And actually we are more than the Chinese internationally, but we have been conditioned to think that we're different people.
Born in 1960, but I heard of Dr. Kalu Ezera, who had suggested in 1960 that Nigeria should change to Songhai, because the great empires in West Africa, you had Guinea, you had Ghana, you had Mali, and then you had Songhai. Nkrumah, on the 6th of March 1957, changed the colonial name of Gold Coast to Ghana and focused the attention of Ghanaians on the new entity. Unfortunately, the leadership of Nigeria at independence was not that far-sighted to even recognize that Flora Shaw, the girlfriend of Lord Lugard, could not give us a name because the cognomen of Nigeria is derived from the Latin nigr. Nigr is black. It is from nigr that we got Negro. And now, in fact, the racists now call us niggers. So, in fact, it was a derisive name to give us, nigger area. And every time I see Nigerian athletes at international athletic meetings and they wear tags saying NGR, it reminds me of nigger. And if even in America where rednecks, racists are now afraid to use what is called the N-word, you don't say nigger anymore in today's world. And it's still, for me, antithetical to our pride. And as the world's largest concentration of black people, to be using that epithet of Nigeria. Songhai has some relationship with Nigeria. So I thought we could actually start rediscovering Nigeria by changing the name and all the bad things that have been associated with Nigeria. Nigeria is not a name that I'm proud of, which, as I say, it does damage and violence to our worth, as Africans. Even those who think that River Niger is the name from which the country took its own description will be shocked to realize that the traditional people did not call that river Niger. They call it Kwara. Kwara was the name given by the natives to what the people like Mungo Park and the Batin brothers or the Landa brothers suggested. When we were in primary school, we were taught that Mungo Park discovered the River Niger. But I tell my own students now that it's River Niger that discovered Mungo Park. So quite sincerely, 54 years after banning the name Niger area, I think the time was ripe for us to depart from the iniquity of Lord Lugard and his girlfriend and create a new nation for ourselves.
Hello friends, I saw a video today of a Caucasian lady who made a video on anti-black racism in China that is growing recently because of this coronavirus. And I also saw a video of so many Africans that were evicted from their apartment, from their hotels, Their passport and their document were confiscated. Some of them were even deported. Then I said, this is an interesting time, because I wanted to share a statistics with you. I and my group, a Pan-Africanist group, last year, late 2019, we conducted a research because I was pricked with curiosity to make this research, because I stumbled upon a Chinese farm in Khartoum, for example. Khartoum in South Sudan. A Chinese man occupying thousands of hectares of land in Khartoum, and is farming vegetable and exporting it back to China. As I'm talking to you, Google, just type it now, the Chinese farm in Khartoum. You'll see it. Just Google it. So before I do that, let me just give you a few statistics, okay? Let me just explain to you why the Chinese people are trooping in Africa and occupying land right now. Understand reality and what is happening. The total global superficie right now as it is, the world in general is just 500 million kilometers square as it is. That's what we're occupying. And Africa is 30 million. Africa as a continent in general, and with a population of 1.250 billion people in Africa. Then the US, for example, is 9 million square kilometers. Canada too is 9 million. China is 9 million. India with almost 353 billion people have at least superficie of 3 million square kilometers. So as you can see, Africa is even large. Africa as this is even larger than Russia itself. Russia has 17 million kilometers square, okay, in superficie. So think about all these things. Now look at all the land apportioned to different parts of the world. Africa alone has 60% of the world's most arable land. I'm telling you that the total superficie is 500 million. And Africa has 60% of the world's most arable land. Now, what is the Chinese agenda? The Chinese agenda is that they are going to send millions of their people. As I'm speaking to you right now, they have occupied hundreds of land, thousands of hectares of land in Africa. There are actually there were before this outbreak of coronavirus, 40,000 Chinese in Nigeria working for the Dangote farm. Most of them don't even go back to their country. In South Africa, for example, there are 30,000 permanent resident Chinese that are there, permanently resident there. Go to Namibia, you see them. Go to Tanzania, you see them. Go to Kenya, you see them in hundreds. You see them in mining, illegally killing animals and taking them back to China. So what is the Chinese agenda? The agenda is that their population is growing and they are going to send in more millions of their people in Africa to occupy land, dominate Africa both economically, okay? While our people are busy doing their politics, China is taking over our land. This thing, I'm very concerned about this, because no African can even occupy an apartment, buy or sell an apartment. You don't even have permanent residence in China. Talk more of getting land. So why are Chinese people buying land in Africa? Why? We spoke with the entire Pan-African research team, and we're going to publish the list of all the hectares, thousands of hectares of land that Chinese people are occupying all over Africa. As I'm talking to you right now, one of our contacts is sending information about the Chinese poultry farm in Ogun State in Nigeria. Okay, another one again is occupying at least 58,000 hectares of land in Namibia. They are farming there, sending it back to China, sending it back to feed their people. But an African cannot even occupy a single, just ordinary apartment in China. We cannot even occupy. So what is the purpose of doing this video? We want to share this as far as we can to sensitize our people. And we're going to publicize all these things. We're going to publish all the land, hectares of land that they're occupying. We're going to mount pressure on the AU and all the African leaders through our activism. We'll mount pressure on them to start watching closely these Chinese people. They are not bringing anything. They are only profiting from Africa. And then they abuse our people. You can see some of them open restaurants, they abuse our people. You can see how they are abusing us in their own land. But we welcome them as royalties in Africa. So this thing of, anti-black racism must stop. If we are not welcoming their land, then they should not be welcome in Africa. Everything, respect, we must respect each other. This is the objective of this video. So I'm counting on you to share this video far and wide. We're going to get relevant authority. We are already organizing our members all over. We're going to publicize all the thousands of hectares of land they are occupying in Africa and pressure every single government. They must check them. And right now, I'm calling upon the governor of Ogun State. That Chinese poultry farm, you must check these people. You have to check them. They are now farming poultry. They are even farming sorghums. I saw it. Some of them are even farming watermelon and sending it back to China. Some of them even have fish ponds there. But in our own land, we welcome them as residents, but they hate us in their own land. Why is that?
sisters in the struggle for human dignity and freedom, I am here to represent the struggle that has gone on for 300 or more years, a struggle to be recognized as citizens in a country in which we were born. I have had about 40 or 50 years of struggle, ever since a little boy on the streets of Norfolk called me a nigger. I struck him back, and then I had to learn that hitting back with my fist one individual was not enough. It takes organization. It takes dedication. It takes the willingness to stand by and do what has to be done when it has to be done. A nice gathering like today is not enough. You have to go back and reach out to your neighbors who don't speak to you. And you have to reach out to your friends who think they are making it good and get them to understand that they, as well as you and I, cannot be free in America or anywhere else where there is capitalism and imperialism until we can get people to recognize that they themselves have to make the struggle and have to make the fight for freedom every day in the year, every year, until they win it. Thank you.